everybody. Now what I'm going to show you today is how I'm closing the gap on the thumb gusset. You know, when you've just picked up your gusset stitches for the thumb of a mitt or a mitten and you want to just close that little gap. And I've been doing a slightly different method recently and it seems to work quite nicely, so I thought it would be a useful thing for you all to have a look at. So I've got my Lady Mary mitt here, as you can see, and what I've done is I've put those stitches back on the needle and I've done the first round, so you reattach the yarn and you just work around. So now I'm at the point where I've got to pick up stitches to close that gap. Now in this instance, on this mitt, I'm going to pick up 3 stitches in the gap, and what that consists of is we're picking up 1 stitch for the stitch that we actually cast on over the gap, if you like. Your pattern, whatever pattern you're working to, it'll give you an instruction to sort of backwards loop normally. Backwards loop, cast on 1 or 2 stitches usually over the gap. So we've got that, in this case there's just 1, so we've got that 1 central stitch, and I'm going to pick up 1 stitch either side of that. So if you've got a pattern where you've actually cast on 2 stitches here, you would pick up 2 stitches there and then 1 either side. So what I'm going to do for the first stitch, can you see this line of stitches here? It's the last line of stitches on the edge here. And, you know, and if we don't do something here, this is where we're going to get a huge hole. If we just went up to here to pick up that stitch at the top, you can see we've just got this huge gap. So what I've been doing recently is I've been going into the sort of center of this stitch here, this line of stitches, and I'm going to find the first stitch here, and can you see the kind of bar running between? I'm going to pick up that one, and then I'm going to go to the next stitch and I'm going to get that one as well. So you can see I've got 2 bars here on my needle, and I'm just going to knit those. Now it is a little bit fiddly because they're at a different angle, you know. I'm working vertically, if you like, and they're going horizontally, but you can do it if you're careful. You can see I've picked up a stitch there. Now what's going to happen is when we start knitting that stitch, it is going in a different direction effectively than this row of stitches here, but I find that's kind of more pleasing to look at than to have a kind of hole here that we've had to close up. So that's the first stitch. Now for the second stitch, I'm just going to move that out of the way so that we can get to it a bit easier. What I'm going to do is I'm going to rotate my work so that I'm looking at it from this direction, if you like. And I'm going to pick up underneath that stitch that I cast on. So you can see it's sort of right here, it's this one here. And I'm going to go into like the first sort of V stitch that you can see underneath that cast on stitch. So it's sort of right there, and you'll end up going underneath like 2 bars. And it's a little bit awkward because I know we're twisting and we're going in the other direction, but I found this to be the neatest way of doing it. And there we go, and we've picked up a stitch there. And now we just need to turn our needles kind of again and pick up on the other side with the same method that we did on that first side. So this line of stitches that we've got running down here, I'm going to go and find that first stitch and find the first bar there, and then go up and get the next one. So I've got 2 bars there on my needle, and then I'm going to give that a good tug and pull it through. So we've kind of worked in a little semicircle, and so it can be feel a little bit awkward when you're doing it, but it's perfectly fine after we've picked them up. And I find by doing it this way, we're kind of following the natural line of the thumb around here, because it's, you know, it is sort of a semicircle, isn't it, going around. So that's the 3 stitches. Let me just pop that back on. that I've picked up. And now you would just carry on and follow your instructions for the pattern. Now if your pattern has said to only pick up, for example, that one stitch, then what I would do is I'd do a couple of decreases just to get rid of those extra 2 stitches that you've picked up. But in the case of this particular mitt, the Lady Mary mitt, just follow the instructions that are in the pattern and it tells you to decrease those stitches away on the next round. So there we go. That's how we close up that little hole on the thumb gusset.